James Gunn and DC Studios just greenlit a project that might actually be a beacon to save cinema right now. At first glance, you might think this is crazy. The new DC Studios is starting production on a Clayface movie, which means there's a massive problem here already. Clayface doesn't even show up on a lot of people's Batman's top 10 greatest villains list, and yet for some reason DC's about to risk it all and make a movie out of him? So this new Clayface movie is set to start filming early 2025. Release date has been set for September 11, 2026. But currently, there's no synopsis to the film. But from all that we know, Matt Reeves, the director of the Batman movie, and Lynn Harris, who is a producer on all 3 of the Blade films, are set to be producing the Clayface movie. Currently, the Clayface movie will be written by horror filmmaker Mike Flanagan, who's also made The Haunting of the Hill House, Midnight Mass, and his most popular, Dr. Sleep, which is a sequel to the iconic 1980s The Shining movie. So how the heck did we get here, and why in the world are we getting a Clayface movie? And look, I'll admit, when I first saw this headline, I'm not gonna lie to you, I laughed, and my first thought was, why do we need this? And then I realized I actually said the same thing about The Penguin when it was announced, and now I actually really like that show. January 2023, James Gunn established that we'll still be getting movies like The Batman, and those will be titled Elseworld projects. The most exciting thing to me is that the writers and the directors are going to be able to tell their own stories in their own vision, which means that we're going to be getting a wide variety of films.
The director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us.
There's so many different avenues that DC could take with this, and here's why. Clayface is one of Batman's oldest villains, even appearing as far back as the OG comics in the 40s. And there's been several other interpretations of Clayface, but that also means that there's an infinite possibility of what tone this movie is going to take. Because even as of filming this, James Gunn is including his own rendition of Clayface in his Creature Commandos TV show for the DCU. You gotta think about it, the beauty in this character is Clayface's versatility. One of my favorite renditions of the character, the one that has the most opportunity to get butts in seats, the 1990s animated Batman series, Clayface. In this version, Clayface is also an actor, but his name is Matt Haggen, who's losing his career just like Karlo in the comics. But where things take a turn is when we meet him, he's already disfigured. Through newspaper clippings on his trailer mirrors, we can see that he was in an accident that left him injured. And so he uses the substance called Daggett, which is a putty that's used to keep his face together. This way he could keep his face normal and continue doing his job as an actor. The substance is super addictive, and it could only hold his face together for 24 hours before it melts, causing him to constantly have to look for more. And oh man, did these episodes get dark. Matt is hired by some criminals and uses his acting skills and the substance to impersonate Bruce Wayne. But when he runs out of his last jar, withdrawals start to set in, and he goes straight to the facility that produces it. Instead of getting his fix, he's met with some criminals and they pour the substance down his throat. If Matt was insecure about his condition before, he surely hates himself now. Clayface is born, turning him into a blob of mud that can morph into anything that he pleases. But now he has to cope with never being normal ever again.
I'm not an actor anymore. I'm not even a man.
And this version of Clayface in the animated series is dark and twisted. I found myself forgetting that I was watching a program that was marketed towards children at the time. And it becomes tragic because Matt is trying to escape his life using the substance, but things become worse because of his addiction. I hope you guys are following where I'm going with this, because what was so beautiful about this episode is that it took a body horror approach to it. The reason why I'm so excited about this news and putting so much emphasis on it is because we already have proof that this Clayface movie could actually work. In 2024, we got a movie that could kind of be considered a proof of concept for the Clayface. And that movie was...
I'm Sue. I'm Sue.
The substance,
Sue.
the substance,
Sue.
the substance, the substance, the substance. To my surprise, The Substance has easily become one of my top 3 favorite movies of 2024. I would have missed it if Quan didn't keep telling me that I had to go watch it. And I'm glad that I did. It stars Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley, directed by French filmmaker Coralie Farja. After years in the industry, Elizabeth is played by Demi Moore and is now getting old and has been replaced by her producer, Harvey, played by Dennis Quaid. Fun fact, Harvey's actually Huey's dad from The Boys. While going for a checkup, she's introduced to a drug called The Substance that's known to replicate your cells to create a younger, more beautiful you. But this is a separate you. Throughout the film, we follow Elizabeth's journey with the drug as she has to cope with her new self, played by Margaret Qualley, who calls herself Sue. The film challenges us to look at beauty standards and how we perceive women, and they actually do it masterfully. Now, I'm not gonna say too much because part of the appeal about this film is that you don't know what's going on, but what I will say is that this movie takes you for a ride, and I was not prepared for how disturbing this film was going to be. I actually recommended this movie to one of my boys, and he was so disturbed that he told me that he never wants me to recommend another movie to him again. Watch this movie if you like to be disturbed. But I mentioned this movie because doesn't it sound like the episodes from the Batman animated series? An actor's being pushed out of their role, experiments with a substance that offers them a better life, but changes them, and they end up having to deal with their self-worth and image. I think body horror is a subgenre that fits so well for comic book movies, because what is it when you fall into a vat of acid and lose your skin? Or when you're bitten by a radioactive spider and could now crawl on walls? The Substance was one of the highest grossing original films in 2024. Now, this isn't necessary, but could you imagine if The Substance had the backing and branding of a DC Studios? How many more people would have watched this film? What I'm about to say is not necessary, but I'm just trying to paint a picture for you guys. Swap out Elizabeth's name for Sandra Fuller, the 4th Clayface in the comics, and you still have the same themes and a great story that more people would have been able to experience. If the Clayface movie takes heavy inspiration from a movie like The Substance, I think this movie would open up audiences to watch a wide variety of movies that we would have never imagined watching. The possibilities for this film is endless. Think about how the Joker inspired a lot of people to go out and watch Taxi Driver, or how the Batman made people want to go out and watch Seven, The Penguin, Sopranos. At the end of the day, filmmaking is about stories. And one of the most fun parts of movies is getting that window into these characters' lives and connecting with them, even if we don't like them. And I'm so ready for everything DC Studios has in store for us. And I'll see you in the next encounter.